What if the fundamental forces that govern the universe, creation and preservation, got into a cosmic argument about who's more important? Today's chapter gives us one of the most fascinating origin stories in Hindu mythology. How Brahma and Vishnu's ego battle revealed something far more profound about the nature of ultimate reality itself. This is the story that explains why Shiva is represented as both an infinite pillar of light and the formless absolute, and why that matters for understanding consciousness. This retelling has been adapted for modern audiences, based on J.L. Shastri's English translation. Nandikeshvara, Shiva's eternal attendant, began his narration to the assembled yogins. Listen carefully, O foremost amongst yogins, to what happened long ago in the cosmic cycles. Picture this: Viṣṇu, the lotus-eyed preserver of the universe, was reclining on his serpent couch, that massive cosmic snake floating on the primordial ocean. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, sat beside him. His attendants surrounded him, and he was having what you might call a divine nap. Into this peaceful scene arrived Brahma, the creator himself, foremost amongst Vedic scholars. Riding his magnificent swan vehicle, Brahma looked down at handsome Viṣṇu, reclining there, and his voice rang out with unmistakable irritation. Who are you, lying there like some arrogant person even after seeing me arrive? Get up at once and look at me properly. I am your lord, recognize me. I have come before you, he continued sharply. Scripture prescribes atonement rites for one who behaves with pride and disrespect toward an honored elder. You must show me the proper respect. When Viṣṇu heard these words, anger flashed through him, but to his credit, he composed himself, assuming a calm exterior. He replied with deliberate politeness, O dear one, hail to you. Welcome indeed. Please, do sit on this couch beside me. But tell me, why does your face show such agitation, and your eyes such restlessness? Has something upset you? Brahma wasn't mollified by this diplomatic response. If anything, the calm politeness seemed to irritate him further. Brahma declared with increasing self-importance, Know that I have come with the swiftness of time itself. I am worthy of the highest honor, not offered a seat as if I were some casual visitor. I am the protector of the world, the grandfather of all creation, your protector as well. Don't you grasp this? The entire universe is situated within me. You were born from the lotus that sprang from my navel. You are my son. All these words of yours about welcoming me are empty. Nandikeshvara's voice carried a note of almost sad irony as he continued. And so it began. The argument that would shake the cosmos. These two great beings, each claiming supremacy, started talking over each other like two people who've completely forgotten who they really are. I am greater. No, I am the Lord. You came from me. Without me, you couldn't exist. Back and forth they went, each convinced of his own absolute importance, each utterly certain that the other was deluded. And then, like two foolish goats who've locked horns and can't back down without losing face, they got ready to actually fight. Brahma mounted his swan vehicle. Viṣṇu climbed onto the magnificent eagle, Garuda, and they faced each other across the cosmic battlefield. It wasn't just the two of them either. Their attendants also squared off, choosing sides, preparing to fight on behalf of their lords. The other gods, the devas, caught wind of what was happening. They came to watch. Like spectators at some cosmic sporting event, they scattered flowers down on the battlefield, commenting on the fight like it was entertainment. But this was no mere game. Viṣṇu became absolutely enraged. He began discharging countless arrows, aimed straight at Brahma's chest. Brahma responded in kind, hurling blazing missiles with fiery fury. The watching devas commented on this marvelous fight, but beneath the amazement was real agitation. Viṣṇu, in his great fury and mental agitation, breathing hard, discharged the Mahesvara weapon, a weapon invoking the power of the great Lord himself over Brahma. This crossed a line. Brahma, deeply annoyed at this escalation, aimed an even more terrible weapon at Viṣṇu's chest, the Pasupata, the weapon of Pasupati, the Lord of Souls. The Pasupata weapon rose high in the sky, blazing like 10,000 suns. It had thousands of terrible pointed spikes and roared like a violent storm, like the sound of cosmic dissolution itself. And now these two weapons faced each other in a terrible clash high above the battlefield. The fight continued, escalating beyond all reason, and the devas, watching from their aerial chariots, began to panic. At first they'd been fascinated, commenting on the spectacle, but now they were genuinely frightened, talking amongst themselves the way people do when their monarchs go to war and no one knows how it will end. Wait, let's think about this carefully. The three-pointed trident-bearing deity, the supreme Brahman, he is the cause of creation, maintenance, annihilation, concealment, and blessing. Without Shiva's will, without his permission and power, even a blade of grass cannot be split by any individual anywhere. These two are fighting about supremacy, but they're missing the fundamental question. Supreme in relation to what? To whom? Filled with dread, they resolve to seek refuge in Shiva. Nandikeshvara's voice softened. They came to the summit of Mount Kailash, that magnificent mountain peak in the Himalayas where the moon-crested god resided. As they approached, they realized that the mountain itself seemed to be shaped like Omkara, the sacred syllable Om, the fundamental vibration from which all creation emerges. The devas bent their heads down in reverence even before entering. Finally, they saw him. The supreme leader of the devas was sitting brilliantly on a gem-set seat in the company of Parvati. On an altar in the middle of the council chamber, his right leg was kept over the knee of the left. His lotus-like hands were placed over his legs. His attendants surrounded him on all sides. He had all good characteristic features, serene, powerful, containing everything whilst attached to nothing. Ladies skilled in their art were fanning him. The Vedas themselves were praising him. And the Lord was simply blessing everyone, just radiating that fundamental benediction that is his nature. When the devas saw him like this, they shed tears of joy, that release that comes when you finally return home after being lost, when you remember what you'd forgotten. Oh dear one. The hosts of devas knelt down even from a great distance, performing the full prostration, body touching the ground in complete surrender. The Lord, seeing the devas approaching in this state, beckoned them closer through his attendants, and then he addressed them. His words were grave but sweet, powerful but auspicious. I've been sitting with this story for a while, and the more I reflect on it, the more personal it feels. On the surface, it's almost funny. It's essentially the God's version of a Who's Your Daddy, to cosmic forces, arguing over who's supreme. But the longer I sit with it, the more I see myself in that conflict. Brahma represents creation, the force that brings things into being. Viṣṇu represents preservation, the force that sustains and stabilizes. Both are essential. Neither can function alone. Yet each becomes so identified with his role that he forgets he's part of something larger. Each has a point, and each misses the larger reality that makes both possible. Each claims supremacy based on a partial truth. In modern everyday life, this would be similar to an argument, for example, between an artist and an accountant. The artist looks at the accountant and thinks, I create meaning. You just count beans. The accountant looks at the artist and thinks, I provide structure. You just play around. I also recognize this in my own life. How often do I cling to my role, my perspective, my contribution, and defend it as if it's the whole story? How often does ego quietly turn usefulness into superiority? What really strikes me is the irony. Both gods fight using weapons that draw their power from Shiva. They're arguing over who's the source, while borrowing power from the actual source itself. The devas see what the fighters can't. That without Shiva, the supreme Brahman, the formless ground of being, nothing moves at all. You cannot resolve a conflict between forms by elevating one form over another. You must return to the formless. You have to return to what holds them all. For me, this story is a reminder. My perspective may be valid, but it's never complete. And real humility begins right there. And what I hope for is the same humility the devas found. The willingness to prostrate before something larger than my certainties. In our next episode, we'll see Shiva manifesting as an infinite pillar of light. The famous linga. What resonates with you from this story? Share your reflections in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Until next time, keep questioning, keep practicing, and keep dancing with the mystic.